just ain't that bad. Oh, how we love our denial, a comfort to cover up the shame. But the truth is standing on trial. Their life got proof that we're all to blame. Oh, my fellow Americans, are we reaping our harvest degree? Have we built our house on sinking sand? Why are we being ugly Americans?
Hi, good morning. This is CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice and your host for Weekdays Live today. And we have an awful lot of breaking news and information. And as you've been learning, when we focused on foreclosures and housing, it grew into money and banks. And now that's grown into how fragile our system really is. So today, just 10 minutes ago, we're going to be talking about bipartisan bills for capital requirements for the banks, housing market dynamics, HARP, securitization. Oh my goodness, it's everywhere. Who knew? And then I wanted to at least take some time today to talk about the coming events, because one of them in particular is on Saturday. People need a little bit of more heads up than just tomorrow. And hopefully on tomorrow I will have some folks be able to come on the air and share with us what's going to actually happen in these events. But before we go here, I hate to say it, but literally about 10 minutes ago, the trading market is shut down. Now, remember yesterday we talked about how one tweet, 12 words, took $134 billion of market capital out of the trading because it was a false tweet about explosions at the White House. Well, now we've got technical problems. I'm telling you, I feel like this is just such a house of cards. Take it a really good puff and we'll blow it down. Just a real short video here on this.
If you're just joining us, there's some breaking news out of the SIBO this morning, an outage of some options trading. John Najarian joins us at the breaking news desk. And John, for those who haven't been watching up until this moment, do a reset here and tell us exactly what we know.
Okay, Carl. The world's busiest option exchange, the CBOE, has not been able to trade all day today. That's where the S&P 500 options trade. So folks that are managing big portfolios that have those full value contracts can't trade today. The only place they could, Carl, would be over at the CME where they have futures options. But again, because those are different regulators and so forth, you can't open one place and close at the other because one's regulated by the CFTC and one's SEC. So there's a whole bunch of issues here for all of the big, whether you're a mutual fund, pension fund, whatever you are, that have big S&P trades, you can't trade. And many of these positions would be expiring on the close tonight. You talk about the S&P 100 as well as the VIX. They only trade at the Chicago Board Option Exchange, which is a huge advantage for them usually. But today it's really a problem for them because for some reason they can't open the exchange.
John, let's walk through some
All right, guys, for some reason they can't open the exchange. And here's a quickie article that you can review later. The COB halts options trade over tech problem. That's great. So now we're going to have a tech problem, and it halts one of the biggest trades. Well, that's what's happened. We've got algorithmic trading. We've got computers that do things so much faster than the humans can without thought. They just work on algorithms. I believe we've set ourselves up for this, and not you and me, of course, but I believe that this is how the markets are, and it's really uncomfortable. Anyway, moving on. I really wanted to point out again, this is a bipartisan bill, and I've been saying now for a long time, it's not about Republican or Democrats, and a lot of other people are saying the same thing. It's about the people versus the banks, and the financial system, I might add, and the dollar, the fact that we're using Federal Reserve notes, not US dollars. So I wanted to bring this to your attention one more time, that two senators are introducing a bill that would attempt to limit the too big to fail banks. What they're trying to do is elegantly, without just smashing them apart, force or incent big banks to break themselves up. And so for large institutions with more than 500 billion in assets, and we've found out that I didn't know this, but obviously now we do, and that is many of these mega banks have trillions of dollars in assets. Well, that's just mind-boggling, and it still makes me pause. Trillions, and how do they get that? But nevertheless, for mega banks that hold 500 billion in assets or more, they would have to have higher cash reserves, 15% cash reserves. And then you'll note in the article it's talking about mid-sized banks between 50 billion and 500 billion would be required to have 8% assets in equity. That would be cash reserves. So there's interest, and it's bipartisan. And like I said, many of the Democrats and Republicans are for the banks, and many Democrats and some Republicans are for the people. So we need to separate them out in our thinking and support those, of course, that are for the people. Now, there's some speculation already about who's going to be the next Federal Reserve chairman. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that Bernanke's, I think they said he's got 10 more months in his position. And so now they're starting to speculate. And maybe we should be getting involved in this speculation. Maybe we should be making our wishes known. We want someone in there that's for the people, if it's possible. Anyway, here's an article taking odds on who's going to be the next Fed. And the odds are, they're talking about Janet Yellen as being a Fed boss. They call her a dove, but some of the critics are wary because evidently she's more concerned about economic recovery rather than inflation. And this is part of the problem. The goals of the Fed, what they theoretically are telling us they're trying to do, which is to increase employment and keep inflation low, they seem to be opposed to each other. And of course, we have our own opinions as to why that would be. I know, it's all about fraud. So here, let's talk quickly about the housing market. I've been telling you about the prices. I've been showing you the articles. I know we're in the middle of a pricing bubble. And definitely this article points directly to the Fed, the QE3, and not only the quantitative easing, but also the fact that they have been keeping interest rates low. Look at what this article says. The fact is, when the borrowing costs are so low and bond yields are so incredibly low, it's like a normal person. They put their money in the savings account and they get 1% a year. And so they say, well, that's not going to work. And so then they start to look for other options. Investors are the same, and so are large hedge funds. And look at what's happening. It says it's forced, along with helping traditional borrowers, the lower bond yields created by the central bank have forced money away from the central bank and from bonds. They're actually seeing money moving out of the capital markets, stocks and bonds, into real estate. This is the bubble I'm talking about. This is the force inside the rising prices. And so the world's largest private equity firm, Blackstone, is among the institutional investors to buy homes and rent them out. And so they're saying, obviously, that values have risen. We've already talked about how rentals are falling in some areas. It's a natural and logical consequence of market economics. And this is what you see when you've got big cash following it, all going after one thing, and we tend to see that. It's like a big wave sloshing in a bucket. It's like, now we're going to go look at this, and now we're going to look at that. And so then you see these bubbles rise and fall. And we're going to actually see prices fall, I swear, because at some point in time, it won't make as good a sense for money to go into real estate. And when that happens, money will pull out of real estate, whoosh, and prices will fall. So just be prepared. Just understand that this is not necessarily evil. It's just the way markets work. And we need to stay on top of it. And I'll bring that to you so you can trust me on that. And here's confirmation. I just want you to hear someone else say it, not just me.
Weekly mortgage applications are up 0.2% last week. This is the 30-year fixed rate headed south again to 3.65%. Both refis and applications to buy a home were up about 0.3% each. But put this into your mental pipe and smoke it. A full 1/3 of home sales in March went to all cash buyers.
Told ya. 1/3 of all home sales in the country in March were purchased with all cash. Is it any wonder that home buyers are struggling? If anyone has to have an FHA type loan, they're pretty much not able to buy right now because they are constantly outbid and run over by the cash rushing to buy real estate. It's a classic bubble, and it won't last forever. However, I did want to point out, before we move on to this next real estate fund that someone else is putting together, the fact is I've got clients all over the world and contacts. And when you consider that in Italy, an apartment is going for $1 million, and yet a 2,000 square foot home here in Santa Rosa right now is selling for $400,000. What does that tell you? And it's a standard, straightforward, if you will, arbitrage situation. You go, oh my goodness, I can get a tiny little apartment over in this country for $1 million, but over in the United States, I can buy a large 2,000 square foot home in a great area, nice neighborhood in Sonoma County for $400,000. Now you can understand why money is flooding into the United States. And of course, because loan criteria are tight, people can't get loans here. It's been one of my huge pet peeves, as many of you know. So, of course, we have more hedge funds. Now, what I thought was classic about this announcement is that Paulson, this is John Paulson, he bet against the mortgage-backed securities. So he made, I think they commented in here, $15 billion betting against mortgage-backed securities. So thank you very much. Well, the people lose. He's winning. But he just lost, I think, $20 billion just recently because he was into gold. And now gold prices has been pushed down. And there's a variety of speculation about why that is. But now he's going to start another real estate equity fund. And they're going to buy more houses. So more money is going, and that's typical, that's classic in a bubble, is that by the time the prices go up, then others say, oh, I better jump on the bandwagon. So here we have another huge $1 billion of hedge money wanting to jump on the bandwagon. Very dangerous times in housing, and very difficult for buyers, normal people trying to buy a house. It's very disappointing and discouraging for many, many buyers around the country. Trust me, I know. So now, of course, because prices are bubbling and booming, particularly in some markets, spec construction is speculative building. It means that the builders borrow money, go out and build a house, and then sell it. They don't custom build for an owner. So that's what spec construction or spec building is. And of course, this guy, he's in Maryland, Bethesda, Maryland, a high-end suburb of Washington, D.C. He's confident he's going to sell his spec house. So they're out building spec homes, and which, it just virtually disappeared, dried up for the last 6-7 years because prices fell, every property is so inexpensive, and there was a lot of property for sale. Now that the banks have stopped listing their foreclosures and inventory has been reduced, prices are being driven up, cash is coming in to buy homes, and so builders are able to start making a living again. So that's the good bad part, because I'm afraid that they're going to get all these spec homes out there and something's going to shift the market on a dime. Cash is going to start withdrawing, prices are going to fall, and we're going to have another bust cycle again, busting the people. I wish we could, I wish there was something we could do to stop this. And then, of course, here's an article just today. So, literally within the same week, you've got spec building going up, and now you've got remodeler confidence dipping. And so, the remodeler's confidence index has fallen again. And that's not a good sign. Typically these indexes have a baseline of 50. Above 50 is good, below is bad. It's gone down below 50 again. And so I believe that that's more of an accurate outlook down the road for the future. Doesn't mean if you're a homeowner you shouldn't remodel, but I would be very, very conservative on everything you do right now. Don't spend a lot of money. Keep your money. Put it into some hard assets. Try to look at your future life with some of these thoughts in mind. That's why I feel so impelled to every day tell you what I'm thinking and what I see, so that you can start to get a grip yourself on your own life, your own situation, your family, your friends, where you're living, how you should be thinking about life and how life really works. You know, yesterday we talked about there is no rule of law. Or, well, actually, rule of law works for people in charge, and it doesn't work for the rest of us the way we've been grown up to think. So these are just, take off our glasses, our rose-colored glasses, and let's see it how it really is, so that we can make good decisions, because we will. As long as we're honest with ourselves and with what we're reading, you're going to have a much better chance of making a good decision and not being caught unawares. And sharing, remember, one a day. Let's share it with our family and friends. Here's another article. Just this week again, the housing recovery is continuing, but there's headwinds. And the fact is, they're talking about the fact that money is hard to get, materials are more expensive, there's mortgage lending rules, loans are hard for the people, there's uncertainty regarding housing financial regulations and tax incentives. They're talking about taking away the write-off for mortgage taxes, the interest. And so if they remove that, all of these issues, it's relatively complicated, but they all will have an effect. And so I highly recommend you read these articles and you think about them, because the more you think about them, the more comfortable you're going to be with these types of thoughts. And that in itself is a big step in the right direction for analysis. Now, Zillow, welcome to Zillow. And the fact is, every valuation, computerized valuation, I sort of look at like computerized trading algorithm. You can't include everything. And so it is what it is. And sometimes it runs amok and doesn't give you the result you want. So please don't depend on any computerized valuation for the value of your property. It's just for fun, okay? Because there's so many things that these computerized valuation algorithms leave out, in my opinion. But nevertheless, they are looking here at broad information, broad data. And they do believe that they've seen this rapid appreciation in home prices, and they do believe that it just can't hold that. And I totally agree with this. I believe their results in this are accurate. I believe that you need to look at where you're at, because remember, there is no nationwide national housing market. It's all local. So we have thousands of little local sub-markets. So what works for you is not going to work for me. So you need to understand how the markets work. And the more you understand that, the more you can actually look at your market with clear understanding. And so here, five of the metropolitan areas covered by Zillow experienced year-over-year appreciation exceeding 20%. That's what we're seeing here. San Jose, San Francisco, Sacramento. And what's interesting to me about those three markets in California, I'm quite familiar with all of them, and that is San Jose is about in the middle. San Francisco is still high priced, and it's going up. San Jose is about in the middle, and it's going up. And Sacramento has been extremely low. It was just brutalized by the downturn. And so it's gone up 20%. But, the recovery is uneven. And see, Phoenix has gone up 24% in Las Vegas. But 7 of the top 30 metro markets declined. So we've got Chicago declining, St. Louis, Charlotte, Philadelphia, and New York. So, it's all over the place. And on the average, you can see general trends, but be aware of where you're at and what is going on in your particular situation. Now, what's really classic, I really wanted to spend just a few minutes on HAMP, HARP, TARP, all these acronymed words. But the fact is, TARP, the refinances are tending to redefault. And I have my own speculation as to why that is. This report is recommending that Treasury tries to figure out why homeowners are redefaulting. When I read, at the end of today's show, I'm going to read a problem that just came in this morning. And then tomorrow, I would like to solicit people that want to share their thoughts to call in tomorrow on our conference line and share what you think this person should be doing. These problems are all over the board, but you're going to understand better when you really listen to what I'm being asked and what others are saying. You understand the problem, because the problem is vast and complicated, and yet it's in general the same. The people aren't getting the help they need. And it seems as if the powers that be don't understand it. And so here, and I believe some of the powers that be are actually fighting against it. So here, as of March 31st, Treasury, notice this, Treasury has spent less than 2%, $7.3 billion of TARP funds on homeowner relief programs, including HAMP and Hardest Hit, while they've spent 75% to rescue the financial institutions. Treasury pulled out all the stops for the banks, nothing for the homeowners. And I showed you months ago where Geithner is actually quoted in an article stating even if they had another $100 billion for homeowners, he would never give $1 to a homeowner bailout. So he's going to support the banks, and the banks are going to completely use fraudulent and forged foreclosure documents to take these houses and get them for free after they cheated the insurance program. And yet we're not going to stop them from doing that by allowing principal reduction and honest loan modification so people can keep their homes. This is truly an outrage, and I truly believe that people need to get more people on our side to understand the incredible unfairness of this. Because if they had actually worked with the homeowners, reduced the principals and interest, allowed people to have affordable loan modifications across the board without doing anything for the banks, the people would have been solid, the economy would have remained solid, and the banks would have remained solid. But instead, they've shoved all this money, fiat credit, to the banks, and they've let the homeowners and the economy just fall to the ground. It's truly an outrage. It's totally destructive. And the more we can work to get people to understand that, and I mean the people that make decisions, our senators, our representatives, and our attorney generals, and get them stepping up to do something. It's been very frustrating to keep hammering on this door. We need a breakthrough. So anything you can think of to help us with a breakthrough, please let us know. Now, so what Fannie now is trying to do, now they're going to say, hey, well, let's advertise. There's a thought. So now they're attempting to help people understand about the Home Affordable Refinance Program. So I'm going to take a few minutes specifically today so that you understand HARP. You know where to go to read these articles. They'll all be linked in the comments. You can help all your family, friends, neighbors, put it on Facebook, because HARP, well, here's the plus and minus. There's always a catch, which really irks me. But this program is just for loans owned by Fannie or Freddie. So if your loan is not owned by them, it's a B of A, but not owned by Fannie or Freddie, then this doesn't you don't qualify for this. I don't care if you've been making your payments, you can't get this. And that's what's so unfair. And I think we should be pushing for these kinds of changes so that it just does everybody. Let's put everybody in the same pot and let's rescue everybody, because then it rescues us and our country. I have a vested interest in this too, because as my community is saved, my values are saved, and we will be saved, just like you in your community and your state, anywhere in this country. It's universal for the citizens and the owners, property owners in this country. So they've extended the program for 2 years. They've gotten some advertising. I'm going to show you some advertising, and they are sending this out to interested lenders or servicers to help them understand that it would be in their best interest to push this program. Of course, you and I are more cynical than that, because we feel that many of the servicers and banks have a vested interest to foreclose. And I believe that's true, and I think we need to take that away. If we took that away, if they could not foreclose, then they would be more interested in doing these programs, right? So it's a two thing. We need to really keep pushing to stop foreclosures. Just stop that. Forcing them to pay more attention to these kinds of programs. So here's some HARP consumer outreach materials. And they have some sample letters and sample postcards. And so here's a sample postcard. Refinancing through the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program can put more money in your pocket every month to send this out to the people. And again, these servicers know if Fannie or Freddie own the loan. So it's a targeted mailing. And here's the top reasons to refinance. So if you can check after this show. I'll show you exactly how to check, if you haven't already, to see if Fannie or Freddie own your loan. And it would because they've reduced some of they've changed some of the restrictions, and that's the plus. So it would reduce it would reduce your monthly payment. And I say that's with a caveat, because so many times I hear people email me back with their loan mod, and they said, I thought the payment was supposed to go down and now it's gone up $400 a month. What? So hopefully these statements actually are true, but just a word of caution, don't trust anything until you see the final paperwork, I swear. They're claiming that they would reduce your interest rate, which a lot of people have been stuck at 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 7%. And they want to just refinance, because then it would lower the monthly payment. They would feel comfortable without even any principal reduction. They just want an interest rate reduction and cannot get it because the value of the home is lower than what they owe. There have been all these reasons why the people have been stuck and can't have nowhere to turn, and nothing, no clout, no leverage, nothing they seem to be able to do. And getting a fixed rate mortgage, many of these interest rates are adjustable in the past, and they've not been able to get into like a 30-year fixed. And of course, if they lower the rate, they get into a 30-year fixed, then they could get equity faster. So I don't think you really need to sell it to the owners. I think Fannie and Freddie should be selling this to the servicers, personally. But nevertheless, this is some literature that hopefully the servicers will see the sense in mailing out and getting more owners to refinance. Now, here's the Q&A for HARP. It's a refinancing solution you need, and it stands for the Home Affordable Refinance Program, and it was introduced by the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, and the Department of Treasury in 2009, and since 2009, they've only put $7 billion towards it. which we ought to be an outrage. We ought to be outraged and telling our elected representatives this is unacceptable. But it says HARP provides eligible homeowners who may not otherwise qualify for refinancing because of declining home values, what I just talked about, that they would be able to refinance now into a lower interest rate and more stable product, a 30-year fixed. The program was enhanced in 2011 to allow more homeowners to refinance. It replaces your current loan with these new terms. The initial restriction was you couldn't be very far upside down. You could only be upside down a little bit, if at all. Now they've removed that upside downness restriction. So many people, paid $200,000 and now the home was worth $100,000. They're 50% upside down, or the home is $120,000. They're just so incredibly upside down. And then they're stuck at a high interest rate. And so a lot of those people have in the past given up and just said, okay, this is crazy. Why should I keep pouring more money into this? And that has led to more what we call strategic defaults, and that has caused more problems in the mortgage, in the foreclosures, because then the banks say, well, gee, this person just walked, so I guess we have to foreclose. So then they foreclose, and then they have all this inventory. So a lot of this has just been what I would call normal market incompetence on the part of the banks, plus different agenda. We know that they have a hidden agenda in the back. I mean, we've been talking about that day after day after day. I've shown you articles and people that have talking about it. But I also believe that a lot of the decisions have just been made at the moment without understanding the 30-year consequences, if you will. And of course, the people get ruined. That is the worst part about it for me, and that is the homeowners are screaming, they're asking for help, and they can't get it. Now, it talks down here at the bottom, how can I find out whether my loan is owned by Fannie or Freddie? And I'm going to have those links available for you. Because on my website, Homeowners for Justice, if you go to the foreclosure defense and you go to Loan Mod Help, then this is where you're going to see free loan mod links and info. And here you've got, does Fannie own my loan? Does Freddie own my loan? Check it out, check it out. And also you've got Making Home Affordable and Keep Your Home California. These are the key links that you will need if you want to see if you could qualify for HARP. And then this is what the makehomeaffordable.gov website looks like. So all of these will be linked today in the comment section so that you can make sure that you have access to that. And please forward this live stream or those links to everybody that you know that might want to keep their house and might qualify for a refinance like this. This is real important because the more people that keep their homes, the safer the country becomes and the more secure the people are. And that increases and will enhance their incentive and ability to start fighting back. You can't fight too many battles. So if a person is battling to keep the house, it's very difficult for them to start fighting against foreclosures and contacting their senators and, trying to help others. You only have so much time. So the more people we can save, the more we can have to help us fight this battle. Now, I had no idea. I want to step into the securitization, and then we're going to start talking about some events coming up this weekend, and then, May and June. So turns out that electric utilities are using securitization. And this is a definition of how securitization works. It allows a utility to capture a commission-approved regulatory asset up front through a bond issuance and pass the savings from the they're calling this lower cost financing onto the customer. For the customer, securitized debt will lower the carrying cost of the regulatory assets relative to the costs that would be incurred using conventional utility financing methods. So they are saying that instead of using muni bonds, other financing techniques, they go to the securitization market. But the key is, and I'm looking for this, yeah, a pledge from the state not to take or permit any action that would impair the value of the transition property. So there's some handcuffs here. There's some good bad part. They're saying it's a win-win for the customers and electric distribution utilities. It'll lower the carrying costs, but it ensures that only those costs associated with making the electric distribution utility whole will be included in customer rates. And here's a Q&A that one of our clients, one of our viewers, got about their securitization in their electric utility bill. And this happens to be in Michigan. So securitization is allowed under Michigan's 2000 electric deregulation law. The law allows Consumers Energy, this is the electric utility, PG&E is another one, Con Edison, there's different utilities around the country. It allows them to replace high interest debt with low interest bonds, lowering overall costs for customers and utilities. Does it increase my bill? It may or may not. The securitization charges are updated annually, effective with your December billing, and could fluctuate to either increase or decrease your bill. The company uses a true-up methodology, I do not know what that is, approved by the Michigan Public Service Commission to calculate the updated securitization charges each year. Here's a question. Why did you add the securitization line items on my bill? The Service Commission, the Michigan Public Service Commission, requires us to show securitization charges as separate line items on customers' bills so we can easily track and report the amounts. They will change, the charges will change from year to year and are expected to remain a very small percentage. The securitization tax line item is for income tax we pay on the securitization charge. Is this a new tax? No. Securitization rules require us to display and report this tax separately. How long will these be on my bill? Through 2016. If I purchase electricity from a different supplier, will I still have the securitization charges on my bill? Oh yeah. Those will be there regardless of who supplies the electricity. I just want you to be aware, we have talked about the fact that securitization is everywhere, but this was a surprise to me. And they are calling it low cost. My cynical first thought is, so what is this hiding they haven't told us? It's a forced payment. It's on the bill. It changes without the people's interaction. The taxes can be changed on it. The securitization charges can be changed right on top of our electric bills. This is truly an interesting development. Obviously, it's been there since 2000. So it's taken, 12 years to find out about this? This is the first I've heard of it. So here's the issue. When you start seeing signs of other securitization, you have information about that. We've been told, but I have not seen articles about the securitization of credit card debt, of student debt. Obviously, mortgages are still going strong. Let's collect these together. Let's help everybody understand that securitization always, I swear, makes money for those doing the securitization. They get the benefits, the taxpayer gets the bill. That's exactly what I see here. Now, before we go, I wanted to talk about several of the different coming events that are coming. On Saturday in Petaluma, this is Sonoma County, California, but there's Occupy folks there and from all over. I'd highly encourage you to come. They've got a bankster float. They've sent me a picture. They're not quite finished with it, but I really like the picture of the bankster, and they're going to have people in chains, dragging the float. I just love it. And they're going to have it manipulated by Congress and money people. They're going to have occupiers following it. So if you would like to join the parade, they've talked, let's see, I've asked when it starts, 10:30. Evidently, the initial float will arrive in Petaluma between H and I streets at 4th, I believe. And if you'd like to be there, help them finish it up, that would be great. And also, you could march in the parade. That would be really exciting, because the more people, the better. The fact is, the banksters do control it, and they control our government and our dollars. In fact, I asked just this morning if they have a big sign talking about with the dollar as a Federal Reserve note, that it's not a U.S. dollar, and they said no. So I'm thinking personally of making a sign for that, and so that people can carry it, so that the folks watching the parade actually get some idea. We're planting seeds, and when they see that we have a big dollar up there and it's not a U.S. dollar, and it says Federal Reserve note, and the people have to pay interest on that, the goal is not to explain the whole thing to them, but to get them thinking, what are you talking about? And at least it's a seed. So the next time they see something like in the public banking conference, that here's the point. The point is not just about the banks and the fiat credit and the forged documents for foreclosing, but it's all about the money itself, that we allow the banks, the Federal Reserve, to create credit for private profit. It'll start to make sense. And the more we have people waking up to all these different facets, we have so many different ways that we can interact with our family, friends, and neighbors. In fact, just yesterday, and I'm trying to get her on the show for tomorrow, a contact I have here in Sonoma County called me up and said, I've got my aquaponics up. And I said, you got to send me pictures. Will you talk about it? I don't know if I can get her. But she talks to people every day. And just the fact that we're doing aquaponics, people are going to go, huh, that's cool. Why? Or what do you hope to do about this? It leads the discussion. It's a gentle baby step way into talking about the real issues that we all face in this country. Now, I also wanted to bring to your attention, of course, public banking conference, and we'll have the link again on the comment section so that you'll see it. It's funding the new economy. They have workshops. It's from Sunday to Tuesday, June 2, 3, and 4, the first weekend in June. And it's going to be held in San Rafael, Marin County, California. I've already heard of people flying in. This is really cool, because truly, the more we understand about banking, the money, how we can change this, get into public banking, the better off the people are, for sure. And then I also wanted to talk about, there's some folks that have contacted me in Redwood City. This is down in the peninsula, south of San Francisco, San Mateo County, talking about a foreclosure town hall, probably in the middle of June. That's a tentative date, and I don't know the times or location specifically yet, but I want to have you start thinking about, if you're even close, know people, occupied groups, try to get this on the calendar so that more people can show up and we can make this a big event. And then on Tuesday, this next Tuesday, one of our contacts got her suspicious documents and is going to go into the Marin Board of Supervisors and present them. So on the Saturday Petaluma Parade and on Tuesday morning, I'm going to practice my live streaming. I can live stream from my little phone. So I plan to take my phone and live stream these events. So we'll see how that works. It'll be my first effort at actually being out on the street live stream in the action, which is something I'd envisioned from the very beginning. I'm really excited. I'd like to do interviews with people that are there. And then, of course, once we stream it, it'll be there, it'll be archived. And so those archives can be shared and spread around and downloaded. And by the way, every live stream that I've been doing, it shows up on my computer. I have that, a copy of that, and we've uploaded them to a YouTube channel. So even if you can't get onto live stream, or if you want to download, because you can download YouTube videos if you have a little download utility. You can save it, you could edit it, you could send chunks of it around, and you have my permission, okay? We're all in this together. Send it out there. Let's get everything out to everybody we possibly can. And truly, I don't necessarily need credit. What I want is for our country to change. You know that. So today, I told you, I'm going to be reading a letter I just got this morning. And I want you to listen. And tomorrow, if you have ideas on what this person can do, how should they proceed? I'm going to open the phone lines. So if you'd like to share tomorrow, let me know. I'll give you the phone number and the code so that you can join us for a roundtable discussion of what are some of the options that these people could do. So this person writes, we've been listening to you on KPFA for months. By the way, I had another KPFA update last night, just 10 minutes or so, and just talked about the fact that foreclosures are down, but the people are suffering, and the OCC is completely fraudulent and has given completely fictitious accounting for the banks, where they could claim they wrote off $6 billion in principal for $12 million. I mean, the whole thing is an outrage, and we need to point that out and keep harping on that, because that doesn't make that's really bad, and it will sound bad to everybody, whether they're thinking the homeowner should get the home or not. That sounds unfair. So let's hammer on those things that really demonstrate how fraudulent and corrupt this situation is. So here's the letter. I've been listening to you on KPFA for months and finally writing. We have been in a foreclosure modification hell for the last 4 or 5 years. And I want to make an aside here. This is why these loan mods are defaulting. A lot of people got loan mods 4 years ago. And then they email me and they said, I can't keep this up. The interest rates are still too high. The payments, they're still jerking me around. They're not taking my payments. They're trying to foreclose. These are the issues. So they've been in this modification hell for 4 or 5 years. They've been in their home for 15 years. When we last refinanced in 2009, our adjustable rate mortgage had payments in the affordable amount of $2,800. So they were happy with $2,800 a month. Then the next thing we knew, our mortgage exploded. It grew overnight to payments of $4,500, which was higher than the adjustable rate in which it grew over the course of 1 year. We know it was only supposed to adjust to a payment amount of no more than $3,100 a month. But obviously, they've not been able to get the servicer to agree or comply. So since that time, so now we're talking about since 2010, they were advised to keep making their regular payment of $2,800 a month. So now the arrears has continued to grow. The previous mortgage holder never acknowledged a reduced amount, and since we were in a dispute, the balance gap continued to grow and grow. The difference, which is, between the unagreed amount of $4,500 and their monthly payment of $2,800. So they've been making $2,800 a month payments, and the servicer has been taking them, but still claiming they owe all this. So you can see the gap amount continues to grow until this day. We have since been sold, their loan has been sold to servicer after servicer after servicer. Welcome to the nightmare that the people face. Currently, they're serviced by SPS, Select Portfolio Servicing. We were with B of A previously. We have just been denied for a modification under the National Modification Settlement Program, and that process took 7 months. Now, SPS is trying to see if we qualify for another mod program, which may take another 7 months or so, or just be declined. We think they have no intention of trying to work with us. What do you recommend we might do so we can get out of foreclosure and get a true loan mod on our home? So there's the question to us. Come on, guys. They've been paying on it. The servicer has been taking it. They've had servicer after servicer after servicer. There's this big gap. They're paying $2,800. They're claiming they should be paying $4,500. So now they are in arrears on this huge amount. They've been denied under the National Mortgage Settlement Program. And what do you think they should do? Can you help us out? This is what I face all the time. Just today while I'm prepping for the show, someone's calling on the phone and they've got an auction today and they tried to do a couple of things. They just found somebody that Jed Davis, from Mendocino County, who's, lead dog in the suspicious documents effort for us. And they're contacting him. And so Jed's saying, do this or that. And so they try it. It doesn't work. They're frantic. They want me to help them. And the auction's today at 2:00. This is such incredible pressure on the people for everyone losing their home. I so appreciate your effort working with us and trying to fight back. And I really feel that as we can take some of these pleas and requests that I get in the email, and I put them out to the viewers so that you can join me and we can really start to swirl our ideas, because I know we're all busy. And so tomorrow, I want ideas. I want solutions. I'll have some of my own, no doubt. I'll try to find the address and find out anything I can about the documents that they've got filed, that kind of thing. Because so often people don't even understand that makes a difference. So tomorrow, in our Update Friday, please, if you have any updates of any kind, let me know. Just please send them in. And if you can get on the show, let me know. And I'm going to open up the conference call line so that we'll have a whole bunch of people on the phone at once and we can all share together. We'll try that. And I think I know how to keep the conference line open now during the show, so that's a good thing. And I apologize. Sometimes some of these issues are my problem and sometimes they're not. So thank you for hanging in there. And truly, as we continue, I don't even know now if the trading markets have opened up, but the fact is we know that we've sort of over-designed ourselves. We've gotten a system, I believe, that is subject to failure, and it's just a natural and logical conclusion of relying on too much technology. So anyway, hang in there, don't give up. We never give up, we never give in. And we've gotten some other good ideas about how we might be able to really stop foreclosures, because that is number one. If we could stop the foreclosure mills from filing any more paperwork, then the people would have a chance for a loan mod. These people today that I just read about, they wouldn't be so desperate. They're so afraid they're going to lose the house. And that's where everybody is at. And that is the leverage the banks use to create fraudulent loan modifications. So today, let's think of more ways we possibly can to bugger the bankers. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for Update Friday. Please let me know what your update is so we can get you on the air. See you till tomorrow.
When I was a lass, I was proud of me class, like my father and mother before me. They taught me to fight for my civil rights, but it's always the same old story. The rich reign supreme while the poor can but dream, and the Labour or Liberal or Tory. And I say,
direction.
The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax. With merrier moments reflection. Where there's grass, there's muck, and they don't give an ass, 'cause they're programmed against insurrection. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger you. Now all you good people with passion to vent, don't give up the struggle for justice. But I've done my time on the protesters' line, and these days I show my dissent by loitering